who's actually going to get the most out of a premium 10x42 binocular, and who would be better off putting that money towards something else? Is it worth splurging on a high-end optic when you only need a pair for weekend hikes, or does the extra price deliver real-world benefits for serious birders and hunters? Those are the questions that keep me up at night when I'm scrolling through Amazon, and the answer isn't as simple as yes, it's the best. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with why the hesitation is real. The Leica Noctivid line is marketed as a luxury binocular, and the price tag reflects that. For a casual user who only pulls out binoculars a few times a year, spending a few $100s can feel like gambling on a piece of glass you might never truly test. On the other hand, for someone who spends most weekends tracking raptors, scouting hunting blinds, or navigating low-light forest trails, the cost can be seen as an investment in clarity and durability that you won't have to replace for years. The biggest risk is buying a high-end pair and then discovering that your typical use case never really calls for that level of performance, leaving you with a beautiful but underutilized gadget. So, who should actually consider the Leica 10x42 Noctivid? If you're an avid birdwatcher who chases waterfowl at dawn, a hunter who needs to identify game at the edge of a clearing, or a nighttime explorer who appreciates the Noctivid coating that boosts contrast in dim conditions, this binocular checks a lot of boxes. The 42mm objective lenses gather enough light to keep images bright even when the sky is overcast, and the 10 magnification lets you read the subtle feather patterns on a distant duck without straining. Because the optics are built with premium glass, the view is razor-sharp, so you can actually tell the difference between a male and a female sandpiper in the field-a level of detail that most mid-range binoculars blur together. Conversely, if you're looking for a lightweight pair to sling around a city park, or you only need binoculars for occasional stadium use, you might be better off with something in the $100–$150 range. The Noctivid kit, while rugged, carries a heft that feels noticeable after a couple of hours of shoulder mounting on a long hike. The waterproof construction is great for rain or early morning mist, but that same sealed body adds a few ounces that a more budget-oriented model could shave off. In short, if portability is your top priority, the extra weight could become a nuisance. Now, let's talk practicality. The first thing I noticed when unboxing the kit was how the binoculars sit in the hand. The rubber-covered grip and the ergonomic barrel design mean you can hold them steady while scanning a field of view that's wider than many 10 models. That wide field of view is a real advantage when you're following a flock of geese that constantly change direction. You don't have to hunt the subject across a narrow slice of sky. It also translates well to hunting, where you might need to track a moving buck at the edge of a clearing without constantly reaming. Another practical strength is the waterproof rating. I took the binoculars out on a misty morning in the Appalachians, and even when droplets hit the lenses, the view remained clear, and there was no fogging inside the barrels. The sealed design also means you can toss them in a backpack without worrying about accidental spills, which is a relief for anyone who's ever opened a bag to find a puddle of water inside their gear. However, that same sealing means you can't adjust the focus on the fly with a simple twist of the barrel. You have to set the diopter in focus before you head out. For most users, that's a minor inconvenience, but it does require a bit of preparation if you're moving between different lighting conditions. One hidden trade-off is the cost versus the incremental visual improvement over a good mid-range pair. Leica's premium glass gives you that extra bite in contrast that can be the difference between spotting a camouflaged deer or missing it entirely. If you're a hunter who relies on early morning light, that contrast boost can be a game changer. For birders, the sharpness helps when you're trying to identify subtle field marks on a distant warbler. Yet, if you're primarily using binoculars for casual wildlife viewing or for occasional concerts, those nuanced benefits might not justify the price. In those scenarios, a well-reviewed 830 or 842 from a reputable brand will deliver a very satisfying experience at a fraction of the cost. Let's address durability beyond waterproofing. The body feels solid, with a metal chassis that resists denting if you accidentally knock it against a rock. I've heard from a few owners that the finish on the black coating can pick up scratches over time if you're not careful when setting it down on rough surfaces. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something to keep in mind if you plan to leave the binoculars on the ground.